Hi, my name's Sean McNeilis from the Swinburne Centre for Urban Transitions. This is a presentation that I made at the World Congress of Sociology in Melbourne in June 2023. One of the key questions confronting futurology is how we can work out a way forward without some grasp of our future possibilities, of who we can be, of who we will be. In this context, I begin with a quote from Philip McShane's book, Futurology Express. Futurology is the conception, affirmation, and affecting of the integral heuristic structure of history. Futurology is caring as best I can, as best we can, for the pup, the shoot called history. Note that this quote is not about who we will become. That is left open. Who we will become is an ongoing discovery. However, the quote does suggest to us what we need to do to realise the best version of our unknown future. But what, you may ask, is the integral heuristic structure of history, or as I call it, functional collaboration? My task today is to give you some inkling of what I have come to understand as functional collaboration and its relevance to futurology. Functional collaboration incorporates many of the aspirations of future studies: evidence-based, integral, transdisciplinary, evolutionary, critical, emancipatory, transformative, strategic, mapping out alternative futures using foresight, participatory, transcultural, and incorporating traditional knowledge systems, axiological, applied, and practical. In this presentation, due to time constraints, I have focused on functional collaboration per se, rather than making explicit links with future studies. An expanded paper that will accompany this presentation does this. This presentation, therefore, is introductory. I will proceed through a series of approximations: an overview of functional collaboration and its starting point, functional collaboration as a complete set of interrelated questions, functional collaboration as functional specialties. Functional collaboration is a framework for collaborative creativity through which us humans work out together what needs to be done in the long term. It is a scientific approach which aligns science with making progress. It is global in scope. It envisages global collaboration. It reconfigures and links multiple methods from the natural and social sciences. It links theory and practice. It's omnidimensional. It envisages a heuristic which integrates all the dimensions of our environment and social world. It is transcultural, for it is grounded not in a particular culture, but in the structure of each person, in us as subjects, in our innate desire to understand and create something worthwhile, and in discovering ourselves in loving relationships. Functional collaboration seeks to bring about emancipation, respect, and justice. It is a scheme of recurrence that continually recycles the past as a guide to the future. It is a new form of specialisation based on the functions performed rather than on the end results, as is the disciplines. Functional collaboration is a new approach to futurology that requires a revolutionary change in the academy. The starting point of functional collaboration, and this I want to highlight, is a new appreciation of our capacity for performance. It begins with us. We are puzzlers, and questions emerge as expressions of this puzzling, as expressions of our desire to understand and solve problems. Questions reveal something about our dynamic orientation towards understanding and responding. They emerge in response to something that we are puzzled about, interested in, or care about. So, rather than focusing on the content of knowing and doing, functional collaboration is built on our competency in knowing and doing, in knowing and realising values, on self-appropriation, on each person's grasp of their internal dynamics of knowing and doing, a grasp of what produces that knowing and doing. If we want to improve our chances of doing good research, then it will help to understand what goes on when we are researching. Once we understand what goes on, then we can take some deliberate control over how we proceed and over the varied but related activities that constitute research. As a first approximation of functional collaboration, we can think about the different types of questions that emerge from us as we think about something. If we work hard at thinking about these questions, we can distinguish 8 different types of questions. These questions distinguish stages in the process of going from where we are now to implementing something new. If we want to make progress in any area of human endeavour, we need to ask and find new answers to these questions. The first 4 questions are about learning from the past: empirical questions, definition or theoretical questions, historical or evolutionary questions, evaluative or critical questions. The second 4 are about making futures: transformative or visionary questions, policy questions, strategic questions, and practical questions. Specialties form around the methods for answering these questions. So functional collaboration consists of 8 functional specialties: research, interpretation, history, dialectic, foundations, policies, systematics, and communication. As a second approximation, I will unpack something of these 8 functional specialties. The functional specialty research asks the empirical question: what events are occurring in this time and place? How do different participants understand them? And to what extent are these events associated? Research gathers data on the frequency and probability of events and their characteristics, on the sequences of and associations between events, and on participants' descriptions of meanings, values, feelings, beliefs, and attitudes, etc. All inquiries begin with some heuristic or theory for selecting, organising, and understanding the data. The role of research is to gather time and place data which disrupts this theory and contributes to answering what is it question. The functional specialty interpretation asks the definition theoretical question: what is it? The current answer is disrupted by new empirical evidence, and the role of the functional specialty interpretation is to adjust the current theory or to develop a new one altogether. In answering this what question, interpretation selects the relevant, significant, and essential elements and relates them to one another to form definitions, hypotheses, analytical frameworks, heuristics, or theories. It is omnidimensional in that it seeks to incorporate all the variations, all the possibilities into a single viewpoint from which all the data can be understood. The functional specialty history asks the historical evolutionary question: what is going forward? What dynamic or vector has provoked ongoing change? Each society has its own particular history. Each is informed by its own set of values or interests. The functional specialty history goes beyond describing events to identifying the taken for granted values or interests that are vectors of ongoing change in a society. The functional specialty dialectic asks the evaluative critical question: what are the most worthwhile vectors in the history of societies? What is the best of the past? Dialectic presupposes science as a mandatory, as promoting better research and a better society by addressing conflicts and differences head-on, say the ongoing philosophical disputes about epistemology and ontology that beset researchers, and the fundamental conflicts and differences within and between societies. Dialectic uses the methods of comparison, evaluation, and critique to answer that question. but moves beyond them to develop a synthesis of what is most worthwhile. The values that are vectors of ongoing change differ between societies. These vectors are the worldview or horizon within which actors decide and act. But identifying these vectors is not enough if we want to plot our way forward. Dialectic assembles the vectors of many different societies. It appreciates and critiques each. It works out which vectors are worthwhile and promote ongoing social development, the best of our collective past. The functional specialty foundations moves us into making futures. It asks the transformative visionary question, who do we want to be? Through the functional specialty dialectic, we make discoveries about our past. But discovery is one thing. Deciding to live by that discovery is another. A new vision of who we are transforms the worldview or horizon within which we make decisions and live. Foundations turns to the subject, to the social agent, and uses phenomenological methods to explicate our answer to this question. The functional specialty policies asks the policy question. What new directions will realise that new vision? Policies seek to discern future directions, new vectors, new values, ones that will best promote the development of the whole society into the future. The functional specialty systematics asks the strategic question. What courses of action will realise these new directions? We already operate within the complex series of contexts that constitute society: technological, economic, political, cultural, and religious. So the role of systematics is to consider each of these contexts and strategically works out which courses of action are more probable than others. The functional specialty communications asks the practical question: what do we need to do in this time and place to realise these courses of action? Communications returns to the empirical and seeks to work out what changes will implement a course of action. The new skills that have to be developed, changes in roles and tasks, and changes in institutions. Functional collaboration is a structure in which each functional specialty leans forward, is oriented to the future. Each functional specialty builds on the results of the previous functional specialty and contributes their results to the next. They are a complete, integrated set of questions and methods that take us from where we are now to implementing something new. Over decades, futurists have raised many complex methodological and philosophical issues. The functional specialties separate out these issues so they can be addressed separately. It separates out the different types of questions. The challenge for each functional specialty is to select the most up-to-date method for answering its particular question. Functional collaboration is not an idealist fantasy. It formulates a discovery of something that already operates, albeit confusedly. It articulates how human history brings about progress. It articulates the elements, their structure, and their relationship to one another. It opens up the vast range of possibilities in any area of human endeavour. Functional collaboration is the integral heuristic structure of history. It draws on our hidden decency, our best self's capacity for performance. To reach a point where we can conceive and affirm functional collaboration as the integral structure of history takes intense work over many years, and its full implementation is decades, if not centuries away. But through it, we can transition to world care.